Hey friends, welcome back. This is what we did for cycle 2, week 11 tin whistle. I wasn't here last week because my kids were sick and I had a substitute, so I didn't make a video. I might go back and make another one, but if you really want to see my content for that, you can look at my last year's week 10 video, and at the end I should have something in there for tin whistle. So I mainly did what the foundations guide lays out, but I do have to modify it a little bit just because of the age that I have in my class. I have 4 to 7-year-olds, so not everybody is capable of doing what is laid out in the foundations guide. So I'll just share with you what we did. So first we started off reviewing the conductor, what the conductor's hand motions mean. So I asked the kids to raise their hand and tell me if they could remember any of the motions, and they remembered all of them. I have a short that I created about that. I'll link it so you can find that easily. So then I asked if the students knew how many letters there are in the alphabet, and one of the students knew 26, but nobody else had raised their hand. So we went ahead and sang through the alphabet song, and I used my fingers to count how many letters there were. So there's 26 letters in the alphabet. Then I asked if anyone knew how many notes there are, and nobody knew, so I just told them there's 7 notes. So we use notes to make up music like an author would make up a novel using letters. So you use letters to build words, to build books, and you use notes to build music. Then we sang the cycle song together. We sang Mary Had a Little Lamb, so we practiced with the kids looking at me and me counting them in and singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. So for the last note in the song, there's a whole note, and the kids always want to cut that short. So I made a point to hold it out for all 4 notes, and then I reminded them that that is a whole note, and we looked at it on the music, and I asked them to tell me what kind of note it was, and it was a whole note, and it gets 4 counts. So we just kind of reviewed that a little bit. Then we went over the mnemonic devices that they had provided in the foundations guide. When a note is on a line, every good boy does fine, and when a note is on a space, it spells the word face. So we reviewed the staff, the lines, and the spaces. I asked them to compare the notes they saw on Every Good Boy Does Fine compared to the face ones. Some children pointed out that there was more notes on the Every Good Boy Does Fine line versus the face section, and then we talked about how some of them were in the spaces and some of the whole notes were being bisected by the line on the staff. So that covered all the information under naming in the foundations guide. Then after that we did attending. Last year I had done naming, expressing, attending. From my experience last year, I decided to switch it up and do it in this order because attending really took an unexpected amount of time. So this is the one that we kind of cut short because the children just have a hard time writing the notes on the staff. I had them open up their folders to look at the ascending and descending D scales. We talked about how ascending goes up and descending goes down, and how it's kind of like a mountain, and how the ascending scale starts low like this, and then it goes up like this, higher. And then I gave them the definition of a scale from the foundations guide, and then I just had them draw some notes on their staff lines. So we started off with the low D, and I did an example for them on the board. I explained how the top of the note touches the staff line here. So just the top of the note will touch the staff line. And then with the E, we bisected that whole note. So I drew a little line in between in this little space here, like halfway up, and I drew a little line underneath, and I said we're gonna do our circle to connect those 2 lines. And then we did F, and we did not draw the sharp on our staff line. So we just did the first 3. And then after that, I had them write D, E, and F under their notes on their staff line. So we just did the first 3, but that was great. Then we talked about why our scale is a D scale. Our tin whistles are in the key of D, so that's why we have the D scale. And I gave the definition of a scale from the Foundations Guide. Then I explained what a sharp is, like the Foundations Guide suggests. We looked at our scale here, and I asked if the kids noticed anything different about the C and the F, and they did notice the sharp symbol there, so we talked about what that meant. Then we looked at our cycle song, which this cycle is Mary Had a Little Lamb, and we looked at the first two measures, and we said the names of the notes just for the first two measures. So in my class, some of the kids even have a hard time writing, so that's why we just said the names of the notes for that. So then we moved on to the expressing section. We reviewed how to properly sit with your tin whistle. You have your back straight. Your tin whistle is at an angle like this. I got silly with it. I'm like, it's not an angle like this. It's not like this. It's not like this. Making silly voices just to help keep them engaged. So we got in our right position. We raised our left hand to make sure that was on top. And then before we played anything, we just went over the fingering for the first measure. As we were doing that, the kids wanted to continue on into the second measure. They kept singing, you know, Mary Had a Little Lamb, that whole first part. So we went through the first two measures. So we practiced Mary had a little lamb, Mary had a little lamb. So we sang it with our voices and used our fingers on the flute while looking at the music to prepare to try to play it. So then we played just the first note, just the C sharp. I counted them in, we played a quarter note, that was it. Then we got our fingers in position for the second note. I counted them in, we just played that quarter note, that was it, and so on. We did that for the first two measures. Then we tried to play it all together. Did not sound like Mary Had a Little Lamb, but the kids were proud of themselves. The parents were really encouraging. And then I went around and had each student play the first two measures. So that was really good to like get a gauge of where the kids are. Even some of the kids who were feeling shy, they still did it. So that was a really good experience for them to play music in front of other people. Then we talked about what we're going to do next week. We're doing a performance in our community. Last year what we had done as a class was we sang the Tin Whistle song, which I can link that as well. So last year we sang that song, and then we did an example of cacophony. So we all just played crazy sounds. This year I wanted to do something a little bit more challenging just because we have some older kids in the class. So I talked with the parents about what we're gonna do. I haven't fully decided what we're gonna do yet, but here are some ideas. Have each child play a different note, and I just point to them when it's their turn to play that note. So whoever's playing the A would just sit there like this, waiting for me to point to them, and then they would play the A in the song. Another option that we might do is have the kids sing the Mary Had a Little Lamb song in the different dynamics. So we would do one in forte and one in piano, or maybe we would just play one note in forte and one note in piano just to communicate the different dynamics to our audience. So anyway, those are just some ideas. If you guys are doing performances in your community too, it can be kind of a challenge with the younger kids. So I just wanted to share those ideas, and when I come back here in 2 weeks, I'll let you know what we did. So we have next week off for Thanksgiving, and then we'll do week 12 the week after that. So I hope you have a good week 11. Enjoy Tin Whistle. It's such a good learning experience for the kids to play in front of people, to get their hands dirty writing the notes, and just learn music theory. So I hope you have a great time with it. I'll see you next time.